Come with me and you'll be in a world with me on my bike. Take a look and you'll see me on the longest ride of my life. We'll begin with a spin, traveling along the coast of West Australia. If I succeed, it will defy expectations. If you want to view paradise, simply stay tuned and view it. Anything you want to see. I'll take you. Damn it, no, I did it wrong. I'll take you to it. Alright, that's enough of that. If somehow I didn't lose you there, I guess you're here to the end, I'm sure. I'm Josh, welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you my attempt, and since I'm sharing it, obviously my success, at managing the longest ride of my life, aka a ride of nearly 120 kilometers. I'll go until I didn't quite make that goal, but still longer than I've ever done before, and that's a huge accomplishment, and I'm so excited to share that with you. And of course to talk about the books that I read while I did it. Hello. I'm trying to vlog, but frankly, I feel awkward. There's so many people out here this early in the morning. I am going on a journey I've been on before. I'm trying to bike 100 kilometers in one go, but I've done it like once before, like nearly 10 years ago now, and not long after I started biking. Ever since I came to Perth, it's been a lot harder. The wagtail over there being very loud.
Because it's very hilly here along the coast, even though it's gorgeous. They can get harder, but also, I'm 15 years older. So my goal here is to try and afford this, want to motivate myself, and because it'll be a huge accomplishment to the second time in my life to go for a 100-kilometer ride. And 10 years later, I feel like, what is it, naive, even though half their age. But I'm going to try and push it even further. Instead of 100, I want to try and get 120. That should get me over the limit of the most I've ever done. So it's my longest ride ever. I've taken several steps to make this happen. One, new bike source, super fancy, but it's very soon. Chafing cream, because the bike source and chafing was the main reason I considered to more than 85 kilometers here in Perth. On top of that, I'm leaving this way earlier. Left at 9 a.m., which is still probably an hour later than I would have liked. But that should be ample time for me to get in a really long ride. Plenty of rest stops in every step possible. Make sure I do not fail this goal. And I feel really good about it. The weather is perfect today. I am reading. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a vlog on my reading channel. I've been reading Service Model by Adrian Solosky. What's his name?
This is a novel that is very much Murderbot-esque. You ever read that short novella where it follows, an AI sentient robot that sort of broke away from its governing rules? This is a similar setup, except I think it's probably more realistic in the sense that it follows this robot who's basically a butler for this wealthy guy, privileged guy. He realizes one day, for some reason, things aren't quite right. Particularly his human isn't there, hasn't been there for a reason. And he comes to realize that there is a certain series of events that have occurred in this world that have created an almost post-apocalyptic world that is very Mad Max, or honestly very Fallout, both in setup but also very much in the comedic tone. And it's basically him trying to move on with his tasks, but those tasks being fundamentally undermined by the lack of his master, his owner, who he refers to as his master, from being there. And it's honestly a really interesting setup because it reframes, I think, the way in which the robot overtaking might occur. Assuming it's even a robot overtaking, we don't even really know at this point. But it sort of says maybe the world will be destroyed not by some massive overturn of robots, but by some minor error that then quickly fixes itself. But at that point, it's too late, and the robots are just in this sort of sense of utter lack of reliability because without humans there to moderate them, they don't really know what they're doing. And this raises another question, a really interesting idea when it comes to advanced AI that's very present today, I think, which is how useful are these? Are these really saving us time, or are they just another obstacle for us to put ourselves through to accomplish the same things we're already doing? For doing things we could already do easily enough ourselves. Really fascinating concept. Really, really interesting setup, and it's narrated by the author. I should mention that. I got a NetGalley arc. Now, after lunch, I actually got a little bit bored with this just because it's kind of long, and I decided to change things up. But I'll talk about what I read next in this next clip, where I broke down. Motherfucker. Okay. We're at 2.5 hours of writing, 3 hours of since I left, and we have our first issue. Before I start stressing about that, let's talk about where we're at. So we are just past, or at around Burns Beach. I came up here when I first moved here like a year and a half ago by train to about around Burns Beach or so. I the furthest the train will go about. And then a bike back. And I'm not even sure I went all the way back, but even if I did, it's not quite the same because I didn't bike up here. This is the first time I ever biked this far from my house. So that's new. That's an accomplishment. It's exciting. The weather is still amazing. Okay, now the issue at hand. A broken spoke. This is a problem, not just because of the obvious reasons, but because I literally just paid nearly $500 in repairs, including a new chain, which works great, new like gear changing thingamajig, and it's amazing. There was at least one spoke they fixed. I don't know if it was that one. They definitely did work on these spokes. I could turn around now and probably still reach my 100-kilometer goal, and I'll probably be fine. I mean, the bike's still true. Everything seems fine. I don't love being in this position. So today's such a perfect day. Things are going so well. I feel so good. But fuck. Okay. So what I'm going to do is for now I'm going to duct tape this piece to another one. That way it just doesn't flip around and bake things. And I'm going to call them. Okay. They definitely didn't commit to fixing it. I mean, it's impossible to say. Like, look, I have a load. Like, I recognize it could easily just be by chance, but still. They think it'll be fine to ride for 3 days with a broken spoke. So, you know, I'm just gonna say fuck it and keep going. I've really ridden this bike in much worse condition. I'm fine pushing it. Plus, the train system here is really good. Worst case, I walk an hour to get to the train system. It just makes this vlog more exciting. Yay, conflict. You know, things are going so fast. I was convinced I would need to leave at 7 a.m. if I want to get this done in one day, but I think I underestimated my ability to push through. Granted, we're still in the first half, so we'll see how I feel towards the end of the day. The book that I'm reading, Michael Pollan's The Botany of Desire, I think it's supposed to be this conversation, this chicken and egg. What came first? Us artificially selecting the plants that we like, or driving us to select them because the plants sort of adapting to be what we need, to make us dependent on them, and us rely on them to make them reproduce. And that's interesting. It's also kind of a tenuous, I think, talking point, because so far, like, we're really just doing a history of, you know, the evolution of certain foods, and right now, like, throwing the apple tree, and then I sort of just lost the line of focus, and I don't think I'm ready to give up on it, like fully, but this ride, like, I don't need this kind of mid experience, so I'm gonna switch over to something else. I don't know yet what. Maybe Longitude by Diane Sobel. It's short and I didn't like her writing. May have reached my limit. I don't expect this to happen. There's no easy way to move forward without going back and looping over to the road, and then, you know, my hair is sticking up in the middle, and then getting back on. I'm like right at the precipice. That's obviously I'm going to reach 100. But if I want 120, I don't want to get there before I reach that point. So I can either head back and hope that I'm right where I need to be, and if not, rely on myself to keep pushing a little bit further and then loop back around, which I don't trust myself to do, or I just keep going. I think for now, like I am beginning to reach my exhaustion point. So I'm gonna find a place to just rest for a while. I brought a book to sit down and read. Like I'm getting really exhausted, like foggy minded. Maybe need some coffee on the way down. But a nice long break is what I need. But for now, I guess we're gonna loop back. This is we're gonna make it to. Okay, I've found my rest and relaxation location. It's quiet, mostly empty, and if I fall asleep here, I'm not that afraid of my bike being stolen. Okay, so I managed to read without falling asleep, though while I'm still feeling pretty tired. I'll talk about this in a second. I've got about 50 kilometers left, so I don't get lost. I just thought a foregone conclusion. I'm probably going to take a rest and even try to get some more food, even though I've had a lot. About halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way, before I go to the final stretch. Hopefully I can do it. The hardest part of these breaks is just getting started, getting back on the bike. It's just the most painful when you get going and you're like not used to it. But while I am like tired in the head, I've had ibuprofen. I'm mostly okay, like no chafing, which is great. So we'll see in this final stretch whether I can handle it. I'm still like beyond Burns Beach. Oh, I should give you some beautiful views. There we go. I'll see it. The color of distance. I've been reading this. This is something I started a while back on the bus, on my bus rides mostly, so I'm not reading it very often. It's not on ebook. It's not on audiobook either, so I have no choice but to read this old version of it. It's sort of out of print, I think. It was on my backlist TBR from 1980s and 90s, I think. The best way I can describe it is it's sort of like Avatar before Avatar, but very different in the sense that we're on this alien world, these expeditioners, and one of them has been adapted to become the form of this alien species because it was like they found them and they sort of needed them to survive. It's this human being trying to make their way back to base to be able to survive, to leave with them before they leave this planet. And in doing so, she has to figure out how to communicate with these people, these aliens, that don't communicate like her. In a lot of ways, it's like they're very similar to Earth life, but also very different in ways that I think are very thoughtful. I swear I remember reading somewhere that the author here, Amy Thompson, is a biologist, and I think that's apparent because like you have some like this whole world of diverse biologies, in many ways akin to Earth biology. Again, it's very tangential. I think it's assuming that life in different worlds will sort of end up in similar designs, if not the same. But things are still like fundamentally different. They're all sort of rooted in a lot of like Earth-based perspectives. So there's creativity here with limits, and there's only so much you can do in fiction. So it's compelling in that sense. It is sort of this trope of slightly more advanced sect of people coming to this effectively less advanced native population. But I don't think it's quite that bad. I think part of it is just realizing it's creating the mythos of this world, which is part of what I really enjoy here. It's actually a pretty compelling book. I didn't want to stop, so I didn't fall asleep. But like there's still that sort of that dynamics there. But all in all, I think it's actually a really interesting book that demonstrates how Avatar could be done well if they had any interest in doing that. Well, I might miss the sunset. Watch it from a distance. You always watch from a distance. Couldn't resist. I was gonna get fries and just fries, and I was like, you know what? Let's just get fries and a sandwich. I'm eating so much food today, which I guess I should do, right? This is like full smoothie, but it's really not enough to sustain me for this last hour and a half, maybe at least an hour, maybe not an hour and a half. At least this way I won't worry about being exhausted. I feel pretty good. Like when I'm not writing, I got a bit of a fog, but I don't feel exhausted. I think the food helped, and also probably the ibuprofen. Okay, regular chips and also the goodness, which I'm pretty sure I forgot to say vegan, so I probably got regular mayo. Mistake. Oops. On sunset, I know I missed it on this video, but I've shared it a million times. We are in the final stretch. I feel still foggy, but I'm only going another hour, and then I'm parking my bike as planned. My legs are still, they feel fine, but then again, when I start going, I feel some like, damn, this is exhausted. But I'm saying all this, and if people go way more than I have, it's not like I'm going 100 miles. Honestly, I thought earlier on that I might end too soon, but I'm glad I pushed to go further. And I have some ideas on how I can improve in the future, but we'll talk about that when we get to the conclusion. I guess let's talk about the books. I read Longitude. Then I asked myself, did I really read Longitude? Because I didn't really retain much, and honestly, I was having a hard time with nonfiction lately. Maybe it's just too many details, I'm just on the headspace. I'm trying to reread it again, honestly. Probably not the entire thing on this ride, but it's only like 2 hours. I sped it up a bit, like kind of like skim reading it. But I read it, I could listen to it, but I just retained so little that I feel like I didn't really read it. Very few that I've been able to just sit through. I DNF'd to one already that I want to get back to. It's not just today, it's been the last month. Struggling. And I don't know what it is, because I've been reading a lot of easy stuff. But that's where we're at. Probably going to start reading Service Model again at some point on the ride. Maybe I'll give up on Longitude. I don't know if I should even count it on my reads. I listened to it, but I didn't really hear it. And that coming to a close. Very sad state of affairs. Just under 118 kilometers, which means I failed. Did not get 120. That's what I get for not going further. I'm kidding. It's still an accomplishment. Oh, okay. So we're all here. Let's do a bit more of Longitude. No new comments, so I'm gonna probably keep pushing through it. I'm not sure where I'm inserting this, but I'm gonna get 4 stars. I've finished rereading it. I was just not in the right headspace at the time, and it's actually a pretty compelling narrative. I think it's understandable why she's telling it. Before it was like, why are we hearing these random people talk about how they discovered how to figure out how to track your longitudinal position, which is apparently really hard. It's because of some hot tea, that's why, and it's actually pretty compelling. I give it 4 stars. Listen to more of Service Model, and I'm still enjoying it. It feels almost episodic. Now that I'm saying this, I went back to it, and I thought we had settled on a new plot point, and it really, as soon as I got back to where I had left off, it pivoted pretty hard, and it feels like this is almost like a TV show, in the sense that we have the premise and a sort of episodic series of events. It's perfectly fine. I'm not honestly enjoying it. It's a solid 4 star. Still sort of going with the flow in a way that's not as deliberate as I'd like. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that book. As far as the bike ride, I think it was a success. I like my idea of going a bit extra further to try and park here, everything gets easier towards the end. Moving forward, a lot of the problems I've had in the past have been solved. I ate plenty. I think in the future maybe I need to pack more food. I need a plan. I went further than I intended or what I was expecting.
because of my decision to stay here, to stop here. I think it would have been easier for me to push further if I knew where I was going. Like, obviously, we reached that point where I just, like, literally couldn't go further and just has to take more roads, which I hate. So I guess my next goal, what I'm trying to say, will be probably 125. Maybe further if how I'm feeling. Let's see, to plan it properly, maybe make sure I work in maybe 2-hour-long rests instead of the one. But like really give me a huge difference. Either way, what I can say is that this is the longest bike ride of my life, which is an accomplishment. You know, I didn't make the goal, but I still feel really good. And everybody watched this, if you did, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Listen to some books. I only finished one, and that one was still good vlog, good fun, beautiful day. Thanks, y'all.